Now I'll tell you about video games for a while. I shall start. In times when people spend most of their lives at home, like due to quarantine or just permanent will to stay inside, they entertain themselves in their own way. Fortunately, industries in different spheres are doing a great job, like books, films, video games. All these things can easily fade away any reason not to stay at home. By the way, about video games. Nowadays, they're entering our lives more actively, and judging by amounts of money invested in this industry, we can assume that really soon it will become a new art form, like books or films. And contrary to many opinions, games are not just a way of entertainment. They also can allow and motivate you to self-improvement in various areas. And now for more details. I will start from example. In the 6th grade, I was initially sent to the second group by English knowledge. But when lessons had started, I was really surprised by how many phrases and words I know. And what's my secret? Video games. It's not a surprise for anyone, but video games are mostly made in English-speaking countries, and they can require a really high level of English knowledge, or they can provide it, as it happened with me. Imagine, almost 30% of my English was learned playing video games. And yes, someone can say like, oh, now it's clear why your English is so horrible, but this argument will lose all weight if I remind that such a huge part of my English was learned just while I was playing and having fun. That's a really underestimated moment. Nowadays people use it to exaggerate and go into extremes. And they forget that far not every game is just a violent shooting range or cartoon-like games for children. And if we try to disengage from these two types, we can find enormous amount of games that can be useful, helpful, or just interesting for you. It can be either some geographical or historically truthful adventure. For example, some guys from New York managed to find the streets they needed in New York using the map from Spider-Man. I think it's kind of amazing. Am I done? Nope. There are also copious amount of some simulators like flight simulator, farming simulators that can teach you some things that actually exist in our lives. For example, flight simulator. It has thousands of real airports and real cities, and you can visit all of them. And yeah, to be fair, they won't make you a professional pilot or farmer. They will give you a push, give you an interest to be motivated to learn in the future. So that's it. And games can debuff your anger, they can motivate you, as I said, and sometimes they can make you feel not a teacher, student, office worker, but a hero who is going to save the universe, the bad guy who is going to destroy it, or the natural spectator who will play the role that was given by destiny in the right moment. And everything happens inside your room without any influence on surrounding. I think that's kind of amazing. And now let's start with the moments that can be really waitful in the moments where adults try to push video games from their lives or from lives of their children. And the first one is really popular. Video games cause violence. Yeah, if child get beaten by family, bullied at school, sure thing, if he does something wrong in video game, he becomes violent and dangerous for society. Children can become violent if surrounding is violent. So, as I mentioned before, if parents can just normally explain that everything that happens on screen is bad and shouldn't be repeated, is not actually a fault of video game developers or children. And let's talk about violence itself. We, humans, from the early times, loved to watch violent acts. Of course, if they are not dangerous for our lives. Gladiators fights, boxing, slasher movies, and now video games. So they're not just a source of violence, they're like a catalyst. Shall keep the same, shall keep the same, but everything that surrounds is changing. And the second thing is really controversial because it can be happening in some families and some not. But for example, if your like 10 years old. You're trying to buy a console, asking for your mom, and she says, no, you're too young for it. I won't buy it to you. But you wait. 20 years had passed, and you finally managed to afford PlayStation, Xbox, or another gaming platform, doesn't matter. And wife or girlfriend, or still mom, just says, oh, no, it's for children, don't buy it. Seriously, I'm sorry, where did I lost a week of my life when I could play it? Huh? Well, so what is the age of video games? There is no age. Okay, to be fair, there are some age restrictions. It's not likely to let 10 years old to play like games about gangsters, but if you're 20, 30, 40, that's no reasons not to play video games. You can do it, why not? Try something unknown and don't be afraid of this, because only the unknown scares, but when a person has already faced it face to face, it ceases to be an unknown. Quotation by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Thank you.